Hi everybody, this is JD with We Watch Shudder. Just want to give you a heads up before we start the episode. We had a little technical difficulty with the recording again this time around. My audio on the recording is not the greatest. It sounds like I'm on an old telephone, kind of muffled like a tin can. Sorry about that. I do feel it is still very listenable for most people. If you're not able to get through it, I apologize. We'll do better next time. But we feel like at least the discussion was worth saving to get this episode out there in its current condition. So we hope you agree. And if not, we'll do better next time. Here you go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder.
Yeah, hello. Hi, welcome.
This is just how it's going to start. My name's JD, who's here with me.
Well, at least Michelle, me. I'm answering first.
And I'm Jenna.
And we're all here. And we can't figure out how to record or start an episode. It's fine. We're all here. We made it after delays and other delays and then a little bit more delays on top of it. Jenna was like, just go record your Jenna's like, just go record your episode. And we're like, no! We will have you in this episode. And now we're here.
They refused.
We refused to let her refuse. There was a lot of refusing going on, also a lot of refuse.
Yes.
And that's just how life is.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, so we're here to talk about weapons, as everybody who was looking at the episode knows. But before we started recording, I just want to get right into it, because you guys were telling me all about crazy adventure time you had this weekend. So just go ahead and tell us about your crazy adventure time before we talk about weapons. I want to hear all about this. You said there was a dead body?
Yeah.
And a bear? Also a bear?
Well, there was also a bear. Maybe not in the way that you would expect. Okay, so the story, Girls Weekend, Sioux Falls for Saw the Musical, which is hilarious and unbelievably horny. I did not realize that this was going to be fan fiction Saw with music and a cast, like a live cast. It was wild. I definitely felt some things in my nether regions I didn't expect to feel. Mostly disgust, but not always. Anyway, it was very sexy. It was very, very sexy. And I'm never going to be able to watch the first Saw movie again without thinking of them fucking each other. But for Girls Weekend, we're like, hey, we're in this completely different state. What are we going to do besides Saw the Musical? Because that's only Saturday night. Hey, you know what? We fucking love animals. Let's go to the zoo. None of us have been to the Sioux Falls Zoo, aka the Great Plains Zoo. Let's go. That sounds great. And Jenna was driving my vehicle because I got too scared to do it. And we get to this intersection right before the zoo. And there are emergency vehicles fucking everywhere. One is flying towards us from the road we're facing. A cop car is coming from behind us. Mm-hmm.
The emergency vehicles were also fucking?
The emergency vehicles were also very horny.
Yeah.
Oh, you said they were fucking everywhere, so.
Yeah, it was wild. So once they got done with their copulation, then they were driving really fast on their way towards us. But they came from all three sides of the intersection, and Jenna was panicking, just not to the extent that I would have been panicking if I was driving, so that was good.
Well, to be fair, part of my panic was because the cop car that was coming, like, from the opposite side of us was blocked in, or the ambulance was blocked in by traffic over there. So I was like, you guys gotta get out of the way so the ambulance can get through. And they like weren't moving. That had nothing to do with me, but I was stressed out for the ambulance. And then we saw a guy try and turn to the right and almost get like in a head-on collision with the fire truck that was coming because he was not paying attention. And then there was a cop coming from behind me, but there was literally no place for me to go. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I can't move. I'm stuck here. And then they turned towards the zoo. And then we got to turn towards the zoo.
Like, oh, no.
And we got to the parking lot of the zoo, like where you would turn in to go. And there were like 5 cop cars. They were doing some crowd control immediately. We could not turn into the zoo. There were 2 fire trucks. There was an ambulance. They were like waving traffic away, and we're like, but the zoo is right there. It's right there. So,
I feel like ultimately, my only response to this is what you get for wanting to see the Saw musical so badly.
yeah, this is on us.
Yeah, it's our fault. This
It's
guy
definitely
died
on
for
you.
us.
There was a corpse, and then cops couldn't get to the corpse. All you
So,
wanted to do was go see a bear.
yeah, so what had happened was we decided, okay, well, we can't go to the zoo right now. Something crazy's going
We
on.
circled the zoo
We
for
drove
20 minutes
we
ago
drove
because we
around the
refused to
zoo.
believe that we could not get to the zoo, but they had like closed to the parking lot, and we're like, but the zoo. So we just kept
Yeah,
circling around like every 5 minutes, just driving by and being like, is it open yet? No, they have closed the whole road now. Okay. And
they
like
had a
driving and then coming back 5 minutes. Can we go in now? Nope, it's emptying out. Okay, they're evacuating people. Cool.
yeah, they were actually making people leave the zoo. So we're like, oh, this probably is not going to be a short-term thing. Let's get out of here. So we went to the aquarium and butterfly house, which is also part of the zoo. It's just in a different location. And that was great, but being the nosy bitches that we are, we get there and we're like, hey, we tried to go to the zoo, but there's like some crazy stuff going on over there. I don't know what is going on. They also didn't know what was going on, so I feel like we kind of put them into a panic a little bit, and they were like, what? What's happening? And they're texting, and we're like, you know what? It's probably fine. Actually, just never mind. And they were like, just go in.
Yeah, they had not heard
They didn't even,
anything
but
about
they
it.
they
Oh
were
no.
they were also so frantic they didn't even make us pay or anything. They're like, just go into the aquarium, and we're like, oh, okay. And then like 5 minutes later, the lady came out. She's like, yeah, the zoo is kind of closed for the rest of the day because a guy got into a motorcycle accident so bad that his body ended up in the zoo parking lot. And we're like, oh, okay, so body in the parking lot.
That's I wonder. I do have to wonder how much of that information she was actually supposed to give you.
Yeah, I also was surprised
It
that she
was
told us
what
all
we
that.
read. It
That's
was
South
what we
Dakota,
read
though.
Yeah,
in the article later. Because of course I was like constantly refreshing the article, seeing like how is this guy? And like I had so many Google searches going that when I finally got to the article, it gave me that alert that it does on Google of you visit this site often. And I'm like, well, just today for special reasons. So I was constantly refreshing because I'm like, I want to see like what happened. Is the guy okay? Spoiler, no. No, he's not.
no, he's
And
not okay. Uh,
yeah.
Also, to be fair, we did not know that somebody had died. Actually, we weren't even, well, we were kind of thinking about that, but we're like, did a tiger get loose? Is there a tiger mauling actively happening? So we were thinking that somebody like jumped into the bear pit or some stupid thing like that. We're like, oh, this is actually really sad now. It's not what I.
Yeah, we were hoping for something really exciting, which is partially why we kept driving by. I'm like, are we going to see the snow leopard when it escapes from the zoo? Because we're like, why are they evacuating people? And it's because they had to close down the parking lot to take care of things in there. So at like 3 o'clock, I called the zoo and I was like, hey, just wondering, are you guys still open today? We heard about the thing. We just wanted to know because we had tickets for today. And she's like, oh, I mean, we're open, but you can't park in the parking lot. So you'll have to walk here. And I'm like, okay, we'll be there tomorrow instead. I'm not walking in 97-degree heat
It was so
when I'm
hot.
not
How,
even in the zoo
how,
yet.
how far did you have to walk? Had you walked?
Oh,
It
not
too
not really that far, but they don't have like another parking lot, so you'd have to like find. So there's not really any public parking nearby, so it'd be a while.
And I'm guessing it's probably not heavy public transport in Sioux Falls on account of it being South Dakota.
I mean, probably not, but I'm not gonna take public transport in Sioux Falls anyways. So
Oh, you too good for that, Jenna? You too good for public transport in Sioux Falls? Is that what it is?
yeah,
for women who should not be alone in public
Oh
ever.
God, there's a good reason why. I mean, I probably would be hesitant to take the public transport in Sioux Falls as well. I'm hesitant to take the public transport in Fargo, and I live here every day.
yeah.
Anyway, I do want to circle back around to something here quickly and point out that Michelle was like, there was a guy who was in a bad motorcycle accident that was so bad that he got tossed all the way over into the zoo parking lot. But we were really hoping something exciting had happened. You know, like
I meant like an idiot died in a
I
horrific way
know
because
what
of
you
their
meant.
fault.
But that's just the most horrible out of context thing. Just a guy got flung halfway across the parking lot and smeared all over the pavement in a
I mean,
terrible motorcycle accident.
I mean, I'm still logistically trying to figure out how it happened because, like, if you see where the road is and where the parking lot is, I'm like, how? How? But
Lots of
And they said,
speed and impact.
no, here's the thing. The article said no other vehicles were involved and excessive speed was not a factor, and he was wearing a helmet. So I'm like, if excessive speed was not a factor, how did he wind up in the parking lot? Trust me, I'm super invested in this now. Like, I don't understand, and I'm also never going to get those answers because I'm not going to go dig into this dead man's horrific accident. But it was like, because we thought like, is there a bomb threat? So we kept like circling around, just being like, is the bomb threat done? Can we go in yet? And then I'm like, oh, it's actually really sad. And it was like a vehicular accident. But I was like, as we were driving by, I like turned to Jenna and Tristan and I was like, you guys, if there was an animal that escaped and mauled somebody and we weren't in there when it happened because we were all at the hotel getting ready, I'm going to be furious with both of you. Not because it's your fault that we weren't there, but I need to put that anger someplace because we could have been here an hour ago and seen somebody get mauled and we didn't. And then nobody got mauled. It was just like a very sad car accident instead.
so I guess Michelle, if we would have been on time and left the hotel early and went to the zoo, we would have had to evacuate like immediately. So we would not have gotten to see the zoo. I did have a fantastic
Yeah.
time.
Find me first.
I did have a great time at the aquarium and the butterfly house. I thought that was pretty fun. A stingray waved
Guy
at me.
Yeah. A guy died,
big
and
what?
then I learned about upside down jellyfish. It was a good weekend.
Here's how my weekend went. I saw a stupid AI video of a guy, of a seal, rather, not a guy. That's a totally different thing than a seal. But it was a seal underwater and it was all like wrapped in a blanket of jellyfish, as if something was terribly wrong with this seal, but it was so obviously like not real jelly. And it looked like, I'll see if I can find the link. It was real creepy looking because the seal was just like sliding in and out of this like ring of jellyfish, and then they're like ripping them off his body like they're barnacles or something, and
Oh,
Oh,
it was weird.
they didn't have that at the aquarium.
we didn't see that
No.
at the zoo either.
All I saw was I mean, I didn't actually see it either. Some computer made it up and tried to get my clicky bait, and they worked. But you know, it's whatever. My
Oh,
weekend story is not nearly as exciting as your weekend story.
Yeah, we saw the musical and it was gay. One of the like
So
coolest
gay.
things about the zoo though is that this is just for like my fellow animal lovers who are fascinated by everything related to wildlife. Nothing to do with horror. Though I mean technically we were kind of on topic for once when we did our 10-minute intro because a guy dying, horrific, and we're a horror movie podcast. So hey, good for us. Now to get really off topic. They had a species of wolf, an American red wolf, at the zoo. There are only 20 of them in the wild. They're the most endangered mammal in North America, and they had 8 of them at the zoo, and they were like, their like fence was enclosed because they're like, we cannot let these wolves get used to humans, so like be quiet around them. Like this is really like an active, like this species is going to go away and we have to make that not happen. And so we were looking at the enclosure and I was like just fascinated because I'm like, we are seeing like half the population that's out there right now in this enclosure. There were 8 of them. Yes, I did eat.
It seems to me that if there's that few of them, and it's that crucially important that they avoid any kind of severe human interaction and influence on their environment, perhaps a fucking zoo is the wrong place to keep them. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
That is a controversial statement that we can get into, but not now because it will be boring.
We don't have
But what I
time
will say,
to get into that,
no,
but
I already.
Please tell me I'm at
said-
least not the only one to have that thought.
Oh no,
No, you're not
this is a
incorrect.
whole discussion we had. We had this discussion when we were at the zoo. That's why I'm like,
Okay.
that's so nuanced. We'll get into it. But what I will say is that these American red wolves, because we kind of landed on we don't want them getting used to vehicles, not necessarily human beings, but whole thing. Anyway, this massively critically endangered species, there's not many. They don't want them to get used to humans, this whole thing. And down the street, we heard an ambulance and the entire enclosure of 8 critically endangered American red wolves started howling. And it was one of the most majestic things I've ever seen. They were losing their fucking minds over an ambulance. And I was like, they are just really big puppies.
They're singing tribute to the dead guy.
Oh no.
Now it is a horror movie. Ah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of a horror movie, that's all the death I got to talk about.
You guys, I do want to point out, so like I've been listening to this other podcast. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to give them any publicity. They already have enough. But look, they have way more listeners than we will probably ever have, and I don't understand it because, well, I'll just keep my opinions to myself. One of their hosts is not somebody I would ever listen to on a regular basis if I didn't have a good excuse otherwise. Anyway, my excuse otherwise, they've been doing this whole series of things, of episodes about the Saw franchise, clearly stealing an idea from us like a year and a half, 2 years ago. But
Yeah, definitely aren't.
definitely. We only did one episode, and they're doing one for every episode. Anyway, I had never come across or considered this whole Dr. Gordon and the other dude in the first Saw, like there might be like a gay angle there. I had never come across this interpretation. And then they were talking about it in those episodes, and so then I was like, "Oh, that's why it was so horny." Anyway, very horny musical.
There's
there's
a ton of fanfic about Dr. Gordon and Adam being trapped in that room together, and the Saw musical like takes that to the absolute max. Like the whole set, it's like a retelling of the whole movie, but like the very first part when they like wake up in that room together and they're immediately like, oh my God, who is this sexy man chained up over there? Like it's like it's like
I can't get to him, but I want to. I want to touch him so badly.
and one of the first songs is called like Wrong Place, Wrong Time or something like that. But it's really funny.
And of course, it's horror movie podcast, and that's who I am. My immediate thought is like, what about the guy who's supposed to be dead in the middle of the floor?
Oh, he was there.
Oh, he moved so much, and he moved constantly.
Did they fuck him too?
No,
they never
It
even
seems
attempted.
like-
Just Adam and Dr. Gordon were just like,
See,
So
I find that
interesting.
hard to believe. I don't care if they're straight or gay or whatever their orientation is. You get 2 dudes in a room like that alone together with another dude, they're probably going to try and figure out a way to fuck him.
they're like, we've been chained in here for 10 minutes. Just start having sex with everything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I think this says a
I
lot
guess what
about
I'm saying
JD
is-
that he's like, if I'm in the same room as a dead body, I'm going to fuck it.
no, what I'm saying, I left out crucial details here.
Yeah,
which
you
is,
did.
If those 2 are already like trying to fuck each other, sooner or later they're gonna try and fuck that third person too, right? They're gonna try and. This has gone way too far. Let's talk about weapons, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I will just give a shout out to our side project because at some point we're going to put out an episode of Saw the Musical for Don't Make Me Watch because I need to talk about it. So, and JD does not want to hear it on this podcast. So
We did.
I
project.
definitely want to hear you talk about it on the podcast. I just don't want to see Saw the Musical.
That's
Why?
fair.
Because it's too gay.
No, believe me, if the first thing you told me was they fucked the corpse, I would be like, okay, fine. I don't care what happens with the rest of it. Sign me up. Let's go see it. For no other reason than the audacity of putting on a stage musical and at some point somebody fucks a corpse in front of an audience full of the general public, I would be like, yeah, that's. Anyway,
Yeah.
this got real weird about corpse fucking.
It did.
I've been listening to way too much mayhem.
I will say that I think my favorite song was the one he sings the song when he's cutting his foot off.
Yeah.
And there's also like a blood capsule aspect of it, so there's like a splash zone in the front couple of rows, and it was fun.
Nice.
It was a good time.
Yeah,
I laughed a lot.
The toilet effect too.
They're bringing
Yeah.
the Evil Dead musical to Fargo North High School here
Yes,
later
they
this
are.
year.
We're
There's
going.
Yes,
going to be a splash zone there. I'm very excited about that.
I am excited for that. I'm very interested in seeing this high school musical of Evil Dead.
Yeah, I was immediately curious, and they insist that only the language is changed and all the splatter will be the same. So
Sure.
I'm gonna be there with bells on. Should be a good time.
I'm all for supporting
Those are
the
going to be
arts.
really obnoxious as an audience member. I don't think you should do that. That feels like an insult to the people who put all of their heart and soul into this musical, and then you just show up, and every time you laugh, you hear "ha ha, jingle 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 jingle,
Yeah.
ha ha ha, jingle jingle jingle."
Also on the Don't Make Me Watch This podcast, we did talk about weapons. So if you want to hear four women yapping about weapons, go listen to that episode.
It's
That's
just
when does it drop?
this Wednesday.
This Wednesday. Okay. So that's Don't Make Me Watch Weapons. That's coming up on Wednesday, which is, as we're recording this, is 2 days away, which if you're listening to this the day it drops, it's tomorrow. Otherwise,
If
those
you're listening
episodes
to
are
this
just
a year
there.
from now, it's
They're
August
just there. Go
18th,
find them.
2026.
Yeah.
And
Just go.
if you're listening to this 2 years from now, it's August 18th, 2027.
Or you can just Google weapons or search weapons on that. Can we talk about the movie, Michelle? We're 22 minutes into this episode.
Can we talk about death some more? Oh wait, yes we can. So weapons.
Yes, weapons.
Let's
Let's
go.
talk about death. Big deal movie coming out. Of course, Zach Krager's Barbarians was a surprise hit a couple of years ago. People are just like, oh man, this movie, something else. You got to go see Barbarians, and then it became a thing, and now he's got his new thing, and it's called Weapons. And we decided we wanted to go see what all the big deal was about, and that's what we're here to talk about is weapons.
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 Weapons, Jenna?
Weapons.
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 Nice.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, Weapons was a movie. Thanks for joining us.
IMDb description.
Bye.
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah, let's talk about Weapons. Let's do it.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and read the IMDb description for those of you living in a fucking hole, or people who maybe like this is 50 years in the future and they're trying to see what 2025 was like. And first off, not great. Yelp score of like 1.5 stars so far. But Weapons is a movie, and totally blinked out for a second. So IMDb description, I got into a fugue state mid-sentence. That was great. IMDb description, Weapons. When all but one child from the same class mysteriously vanish on the same night at exactly the same time, a community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. Writer-director, Zach Krager. 2025. Rated R. 2 hours, 8 minutes. 7.9 out of 10 on IMDb so far. I have 61K ratings. Starring Julia Garner and Josh Brolin and some other people. Weapons. Who wants to give their spoiler-free review first?
I think Jenna does.
Jenna, go ahead.
You have been volunteered as tribute.
I'll let you guys talk about more, but I give it five skulls out of 5 skulls. I love this movie.
That was brief. That was succinct. Nice. get to the fucking
Go
point.
ahead, Michelle.
Yeah. Oh, me next? Okay. I guess I should have assumed because JD picked an odd time to medicate. And
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Just a
you were
little bit
not
edited out.
expecting just Jenna to be
Sorry.
like, it's 5. Oh, no. Okay, I'll give my review. We'll see if JD passes out. There's been enough.
Yeah, I loved it. I don't want to say anything more because I feel like if I start talking, I'm gonna give spoilers. So it's easy to spoil this movie.
Yeah.
So somebody else go.
Okay, I'll go. This was so fucking wild. I think I enjoyed it end to end. There are some things that we'll get to in the spoiler section that, God, I wish they had done differently. But if I'm looking at it as like the whole of its parts, and I'm like, I can't rate you based on what I wish you were. I have to accept that this is different than what I wish you were. How do I feel about this thing? I think this is a really fucking great time. I was delighted and I felt so many different emotions while watching this. I am also going 5 for weapons.
5 skulls for Jenna, 5 skulls for Michelle.
And now
That's
I'm
too
so
bad.
excited to finally see how you feel about this, JD, because Jenna and I were trying to figure it out and we have no fucking idea.
Well, let's do predictions then. What do you think? If you had to make a final prediction right now, Michelle, what do you think my thoughts were on weapons? Like, just give me a score guess. Just a score.
4.
4 out of 5 for Michelle. Jenna, what do you think my score would be?
Okay, I'll go the opposite way because we argued both sides of this. We're like, JD would love this movie because XYZ, and we're like, but JD might hate this movie because XYZ. So I'm gonna say you give it a 2 out of 5.
Okay, yeah, well, one of you is exactly right. Here's what I will tell you about weapons. I don't know if we've ever talked extensively about Barbarian, but I had a very similar experience with weapons as I had with Barbarian, which is I
Damn
was
it.
really, really liking it until I didn't. And then I really didn't. This movie makes a choice in the last 15 minutes or so in its tone that just threw me for a complete loop. It's not at all what I was expecting. It felt very unsatisfying to me the way it decided to end. This is a 2 skull movie.
All right.
Yeah,
All,
2 skull.
so all the things that I thought you wouldn't like about it, I think are exactly the things that you didn't like about
Yeah.
it.
That's exactly, yeah, because after movies that Jenna and I see generally, like we'll sit around and we'll talk about the movie for a while, and then it always turns to, how do you think JD would feel about this movie? If it's a movie we really like,
Yeah.
we spend like a long time just being like, wow, we love that. JD would probably hate it for all of these reasons, and we like that becomes part of our conversation if we really like a movie of like, how would JD feel about this? Because you are very hard to read sometimes.
But I also knew your
Oh.
feelings on Barbarian.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and let me be clear, like, what happens in and of itself, I don't have a problem with. The problem for me is, I mean, obviously we'll get into more detail, but the biggest problem is, like, once the movie is hitting its high peak of, like, suspense and what the fuck is going on and weirdness, it just changes in a way that I don't even want to say specifically because it becomes a different thing.
That is
And-
exactly my complaint too. Despite being a
Yeah.
5, I'm like, I wish you had done something differently, but I love the end result anyway. It just took me a little bit. It's like when you take a bite of something and you expect it to taste a certain way and you're thrown off guard and you're like, whoa, okay, I thought this was going to be sweet. Okay, never mind. Then you take a second bite and you go, I do fucking love this. Yeah, this is actually really good
Interesting.
though.
Well, all right, let's stop beating around the bush then and get into some spoilers. If you do want to be able to see the movie before we spoil everything, this is probably where you're going to want to stop listening. Michelle with a 5 and Jenna with a 5 is an average of 5. When you throw my Q in there, that's an average of 4 is what it
That's still a
becomes.
good score.
Still not bad at all. 1-2 is not enough to overcome the overwhelming power of 2-5s. And clearly, I'm in the minority here, right? Like, everybody is loving this movie. You go to Rotten Tomatoes, it's like 97% positive reviews. It's 7.9 on IMDb, which Michelle apparently doesn't think is impressive at all, but doesn't understand that a 7.9 on IMDb is fucking incredible.
A 7,
I think higher.
a 7.9 is an insanely good, like, high score for IMDb, and especially for a horror movie, it's like kind of
Yeah.
unheard of.
When you
If a
consider
horror
that
movie gets into the 6 range, it's good.
Yeah.
I just think at one point I did click IMDb and it was at 8.1. So the fact that it went down to 7.9, I'm like, oh no, it should be just like that little bit higher again. Like put it in the 8 range because that is so rare for a horror.
the highest rating on IMDb is a 9.2.
What movie
It's
is?
either a 9.2 or a 9.3. It's The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh,
Well, yeah,
Oh.
so of course, yeah. Once
Oh.
you hear it, it's like, oh yeah,
Oh.
yeah, of course.
obviously.
Like maybe
Oh.
the best movie ever made ever anywhere by anybody. It's so good.
Everybody loves Shawshank. So.
This is 3 minutes too late, but I just got to say it because I can't get it out of my head. When JD was talking about Michelle's a 5, Jenna's a 5, not the first time or the last time I've been called a 5.
Wow. Now you're gonna make me feel bad for even saying it, because that's how
No,
my
it's a
deprecation.
deprecation, degenerous. occasion.
Michelle.
Yeah.
All right, so you already did this once for your in a much more extensive detail.
And a fucked up detail.
Do you?
We did not
do you
do a
want?
good job.
Well, do you want me to summarize what happens if you didn't do a good job?
Sure.
I mean, I'm not entirely certain I can do it, but I can try. Do you want me to try?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because Jenna and I
Okay.
tried doing it for a whole hour and a half on the side project, and this movie is already very disjointed. You can only imagine how many times we went, oh, fuck. Okay, remember a thing from an hour ago? We forgot to tell you about this other thing that's really important. It's very difficult to recap. So I would love to hear you do it.
Okay, so if you haven't seen Weapons and you don't intend to see Weapons, I'm going to do my best to try and recap how this movie plays out. Now, one of the big challenges is that the movie plays in chapters that sort of center around individual characters, and there are these stories that kind of they go back and forward in time, and then eventually they meet up, and then you learn more things. And anyway, there's this town in Pennsylvania, I guess, and there's a narrator, and the narrator is telling you how, like, oh, there's this thing that happened, and nobody's going to believe it, but it's true, and they covered it all up, and it's a thing. But a bunch of kids in a classroom all ran off at 2:17 in the morning. How do they know it was 2:17? I guess because Ring cameras or whatever. All the kids from one single specific classroom, except for one of those kids. And then they were trying to figure out what happened to those kids, and they never could find them or figure it out. And then they thought that kid might be involved somehow, so they kind of looked in there. They thought the teacher might have been involved somehow, because of course they did, because it's a crazy small town, and she's the teacher, and it was all in her classroom, and so the only thing that makes sense is she had something to do with it, right? And there's, like, she's kind of trying to not be drunk, but she's getting drunk again. And then she starts trying to figure out what the hell is going on to these kids, because she doesn't want the whole town to think that she did anything to these kids, but they're not doing anything because they're all focused on her. So she starts looking into it herself, and then that just gets her in more trouble, because she, like, wants to talk to this kid, and they're like, leave him the fuck alone. And she just doesn't leave things the fuck alone. And then shit's going wild in the town, and they're slowly figuring out. This is where it gets messy, because, like I said, it plays in chapters, and it goes back and forth and back and forth. Ultimately, you find out that something weird is going on at Alex's house. That's the kid who survived. And, like, all the windows are covered up with newspapers. And then every now and then you get these glimpses of this weird lady who looks like she might be crazy because she got makeup all over her face. And then she shows up as a real person at the school, and it turns out her name is Aunt Gladys, and she's Alex's aunt, and she's helping take care of him and the parents or something. And then it turns out Aunt Gladys is some kind of a witch. And I don't know, I think she kidnapped all these kids to like siphon out their life energy to keep herself young or something, but also apparently to be able to kill. Anyway, it turns out she can use people's blood and hair, or her blood and other people's hair, to make zombie people kill people. And it's a whole thing. But then the boy turns out, he figures out that he can control the other kids that are zombies. And so just when Aunt Gladys is about to win things, I know this is a mess of a story and none of it makes sense, and that should tell you something. But Alex finds out he can control the kids, and he starts the kids becoming weapons, and then they tear off and rip Aunt Gladys apart like it's the first 5 minutes of Dawn of the Dead, and I'm supposed to be impressed. And that's the end. Yep. It is a really difficult story to recap because of the way I don't even remember all the different chapters. I know there's one with the principal for a minute where he's the guy where we find out. Yeah, that's when we finally meet Gladys and we find out that she can turn people into crazy people who try to kill people. He bashes his own head into his husband, boyfriend, whatever, his significant other. He smashes his face a bunch of times with his own face. And then he just keeps on smashing his boyfriend's face with his own face. And that should have been a real clue in as to where this was going to go. But, yeah, it's a little town and the kids disappear and they try to solve the mystery. And then they solve the mystery and then the kids come back and they kill people. The end.
Okay. Where do we go from here?
Home?
Jenna, do you have thoughts you feel very passionate about and want to kick us off? I have so many thoughts, but I feel like all of mine are just going to be better built off of either of you because you generally speak better. I don't speak so good all the time.
Out talk so good.
I ain't got the words.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, generally that's the overall plot of the story, I guess. One thing I wasn't anticipating is that the story is told in chapters. But it's all kind of like the same 2 days of events. Like it starts with them talking about how the kids go missing. That's like the first 5 minutes of the movie is the kids doing this cursed Naruto run out of their house at 2:17 a.m. Which I did start laughing at because my brother-in-law was sitting next to me and I was like, cursed Naruto run. And we were like giggling the whole time. But yeah, because they run, they've got like, their arms out to the side and like kind of behind it. Anyways, you know, if you know what that is.
If you know the Naruto run, you know 100% that we are right.
Yeah, so it shows them all just like kind of silently just like running out of their houses and down the street. And then it shows Justine, the teacher, going into her classroom the next morning, and it's just Alex, the last kid, standing there, none of the other kids. It shows the parents like at this kind of teacher conference that are all upset because nobody knows what's going on, and they finally have to make the kids, like the other kids, go back to school because they're like, yeah, we don't know anything, and you kids got to learn or whatever. And so somebody is narrating at this point, so it happens very quickly. And then it kind of breaks into chapters. So you follow Justine first, and everyone hates her. They all think she's in on it. She gets very drunk. She goes outside. Somebody's painted witch on her car. She tries to guilt trip a cop into banging her later at the bar. Well, that's kind of important, I guess. But anyways, so then we cut to another character. So the way that it cut, Jesus Christ, sorry.
Sorry, the top button doesn't work. I thought it did, but it doesn't.
No,
Sorry.
it does not work.
No, it's broken. So then we follow Archer, who is a father of one of the missing kids, played by Josh Brolin. Love Josh Brolin.
Thanos.
And
Oh, I know where those kids fucking went. He snapped them. Why did
Yes.
nobody suspect that?
obviously. So, but the way that it kind of cuts back is like it kind of goes back to that parent-teacher conference, and like the first time we saw it, we were focusing on Justine. Like the camera was very like focused on her because that's her part of the story. When we go back, we're focused on Archer, and we see that he's the one that's like yelling and really like kind of getting everybody riled up. So this is kind of a theme for the first half of the movie where it will cut back to these other people and we'll see some overlap. But the way that the camera work and stuff is done is that it's told from a different perspective, and it's usually very brief. So it doesn't feel like, oh, we got to watch this part again. Like they do it quickly so you can kind of see where everything matches up. I will say that I did think this film was fantastically shot. I loved a lot of the camera work in it. There's so many scenes where I thought it was just really cool. And we'll talk about some of those ones that really freaked me out later. Then we kind of go through different people. Marcus, who is the principal, and it's his chapter where we kind of really like meet Aunt Gladys, and she shows like the ritual that she's doing with the thorn and the water and the blood and the hair and the bell, and it basically shows her like taking control of Marcus, making him attack and murder his partner, that was a rough scene. We follow Paul, the cop. He's kind of an idiot. I will say I don't think his chapter adds like a ton to the movie, but I did think it was really funny. And as much as I hate him as like a character, I am like annoyed at myself that I would probably watch like an entire movie just about how bad he is at like being a person and being a cop.
Can I just quickly comment on that actor? I was like, he looks so fucking familiar.
Mhm.
He was Eddie in Cocaine Bear, and I'm
Yep.
like, oh, so you're just really good at being an incompetent, funny guy. And you know what? I kind of hate when people get typecast, but I can watch him do that kind of character all day long.
Yeah.
That was Cocaine Bear character, but as a cop now.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, he played the exact same character in this movie. I also enjoy that his mustache was directly influenced by John C. Reilly. And there's kind of a scene too where Paul is pursuing this kind of punk kid who thinks he thinks he's breaking into something, and he like chases him down, and that kid James is actually like a really key part of the movie. Like he's like the only person that kind of actually knows like where these kids are and stuff, but nobody gives him any credit. So we follow him around for a little bit, and then kind of the last chapter is Alex, the last kid, and then that's kind of the last half of the movie is where we see like what's really going on at his house and what's going on with all them kids and how did they get there. That kid that played
I was just gonna say you did a much better job of remembering everything that happened. I forgot all about the kid who actually finds the kids in the basement, the junkie kid. I forgot all about him.
Oh, he's my favorite character in this whole thing. We forgot
Yeah.
about James. I love James.
Yeah, I actually want to go back to Paul and James for just a minute because, yeah, Paul is like, he's not good at his job. He's not a good person. Well,
Sorry to all the cops out there, but not really.
No, that was the correct statement.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he also like cheats on his girlfriend, wife, whatever. He is struggling with addiction or alcoholism, and it's a whole thing. And I don't know. You don't really have like a ton of sympathy for him, but
Also, he frames criminals and assaults people, and he's kind of a shithead.
Yeah, but that just seems like so on brand that I didn't even register that. I was like, oh,
That's
this
fair.
guy also fucks Julia Garner. That's unique to just him.
Yeah, I thought that other
Yeah.
stuff was kind of a given, but with his
Well, yeah. I guess on account of the-
so sorry.
Oh,
But-
we're gonna get a negative review because they're like, you're being mean to the boys in blue. They can handle it. if they are so sensitive they can't handle it, maybe they shouldn't be a cop.
Yeah.
I have an ex-boyfriend who's a cop. I got some thoughts.
He sucker punched that. Like, I get it. The kid's a junkie and you just got poked by a needle, and so you might be upset. But perhaps the kind of people who can't control themselves in the moment when they get poked by a needle, and so they sucker punch a kid unconscious, should not be cops.
Yeah. So he gets,
And I actually, the fact that he sucker punches somebody feels so out of character, because when he catches James, he's like, okay, you good? And he's like so gentle with him and so nice. And so the sucker punch is like extra funny, because before that point I was like, you're a typical small town cop where you want to like be polite to the people that you're catching. And then he just sucker punches them.
yeah, he's patting him down. He's like, you got any weapon? Like, cuffs too tight? You're okay, buddy?
I don't want to get
And then,
poked, man.
yeah, and he's like, you got anything that's gonna poke me when I stick my hand in your pocket? He was like, nope. And he sticks his hand and gets poked by a used needle. So he just clocks this kid in the side of the head and knocks him out. And he's like frantically trying to use a first aid kit. And then he realizes his dash cam is on, and he's like, oh no. And he goes and he like gets James up. He's like, hey, you know what? I did you wrong. You did me wrong. How about you just get out of here? Like, how about you just go? You know, I think we're even. Like, just go. I just don't let me see you around here again. So then he has to go back and tell the police chief what happened. And the police chief is like, well, I guess as long as he doesn't file a complaint and everything's like he was okay when you saw him, like as long as we don't see him again, like the footage will override in 30 days and no one will even know. Well, then some stuff happens and Paul is already really fired up about some stuff and he goes outside. And actually, we need to cut to James because he goes outside and he sees James coming towards the police station and he's like, "You! I told you now! Come back here!" And he like flips out and he starts pursuing him again, and it turns into a whole thing. But he doesn't realize that the reason why James is coming to the police station is because he actually does know where the kids are, because he's trying to get some money to get some drugs, and he comes across Alex's house and sees all the newspapers in the window and just assumes that it's like an abandoned house. So he breaks in and he goes down into the living room and he's like shoving stuff into a pillowcase, like some games and movies and stuff. And he turns around and Alex's parents are just like sitting frozen, like just staring ahead on the couch. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." And then he realizes they're not like moving at all. So he just keeps robbing them. And he's like, okay, weird,
Oh man,
whatever. Yeah, oh, Willow. And he just, yeah, so he goes in the basement and he sees all the kids just standing in Alex's basement. And then he goes back to sell all this shit that he stole at the pawn shop and he sees the reward thing and he's like, oh, yeah, I seen them kids. So he like calls the police station. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know where those kids are. So like, how do I get my money? Like, you just bring it to me because I don't really like police stations. So if someone could just bring it to me, that'd be real cool."
I got knocked the fuck out by the last cop I encountered.
Yeah. So they tell him on the phone like, "No, you have to come to the police station." So he's going to the police station, and that's when the story like cut. Like that's where Paul's story ended. So you're like, oh, he was going there because he's the only person that knows. Then he makes Paul go to the house, and that doesn't go well. But JD, what were there scenes that you liked in this movie? Like, what were your favorite parts?
What I liked, so the crucial moment for me where, and again, I don't dislike the last portion of the movie in itself, but what I will say is I thought the movie, even though the first chunk of it before the big shift is too fucking long, there's at least one of those chapters that probably could have been left out completely and the story just trimmed down a little bit, or each chapter itself slimmed down. This movie is 2 hours and 8 minutes long. That's a solid 30 goddamn minutes too long, and most of it is in that first chunk. But I thought they were doing a real good job of maintaining a certain amount of mystery and curiosity and suspense. Because it's like with the parents on the couch, when we first see them, it's because the teacher, I forget her name, Justine, she's peering through the covered up windows and sees them just sitting there. And so we're like, oh, fuck, are they dead?
Mhm.
Is it like, is it like a psycho thing and those are rotting corpses there, or what's going on? And then later on, we see the silhouette of the woman come out of the house while Justine is asleep in the car, and clips that bit of her hair. And then when we first see Aunt Gladys, it's in like a dream that that one of the other characters is having. And then she shows up and she's got just this crazy person like clown makeup stuff all over her face. And it's this I thought they were doing a really good job of developing a good level of suspense, but also a genuine and enjoyable amount of I'm really not sure what's going on here.
Mhm.
You know, little details like are the kids dead? Are the kids somewhere else? Where, you know, are they here in this house? Are the parents dead? Are they just zombies? What's going on here? Who is Aunt Gladys? Is she a witch? Is it some other thing? I was really into that, and then the whole thing just gets fucking silly, right? It's just like a switch flips, and it just, now don't get me wrong, there are moments of humor throughout the movie, but I felt it was done in a way that the humor it doesn't get in the way of the suspense and the horror elements. But then, like, where I really knew something was going very, very wrong was when the dad just keeps, or the whoever the one possessed or controlled person is, just keeps coming back. It's knocks him the fuck out, and he gets up, and he knocks him out again, and he gets up, and now he's throwing him across the room like he's some sort of like fucking lucha libre professional wrestler or some shit. And it's the same thing that Barbarian did. And apologies again, I won't give you any details, but it's the same fucking thing. It was doing this really great job of building this curious suspense and mystery. And then, yeah, they give us the answers, but they give us the answers with just this tongue-in-cheek. Even when the fucking kids finally snap and go charging out of that basement, the entire theater was laughing. And that's not the moment I want. Like, that's not the moment I want after what I've just been through. I don't, and so I can't say, I mean, clearly, again, a lot of other people don't care, clearly. But, like, also, I have to, like, it's just another example of, to me, how laughable modern promotions are. People like, oh, it's this twisted ending. It's like, I saw a far more graphic, far more twisted ending than that in fucking Day of the Dead in 1982. So I don't know, like, oh, a person got ripped apart. What was so shocking about it? That it was children? Okay, whatever. That's not the movie's fault. But, like, I did not want to be, after an hour and 45 minutes of genuine tension building and stress and mystery, I did not want to spend the last 20 minutes of this movie surrounded by people laughing their fucking asses off. It completely ruined the atmosphere of the experience for me. If the whole thing had been obviously absurd satire all the way through, that would have been one thing. But and again, there is humor in the first part of it, but it's not that kind of humor where it's relief humor, right? It's not, at least I didn't feel like it was tonal, like you're supposed to look at the movie this way. And then it just gets so fucking silly, and I don't give a shit anymore. And that's why the movie completely undid itself for me.
Oh man, I got so much to respond with.
No, please go ahead.
No, I know. I'm like, oh, I finally have something to say. It's my time to use my not so great words. You and I have very similar experiences with this movie, but so different at the same time. My complaint with this film is that Julia Garner, aka Justine's first chapter of this film, scared me. Like, the way that those kids run is so uncanny valley, and they're playing over whichever song that was, that really well-known song, but I don't remember which one they chose for it. But they're doing that, like, over that music. It's so uncanny, and they just keep showing another child running in the exact same way, and that really set me on edge. When Justine has a fear of a mob coming after her, and it's like a real fear, not even a supernatural one, and like there's a knock on her door, that's all very scary. I thought her opening like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, however long that was so scary. And I'm disappointed that it didn't remain scary 100% of the way through, because that was definitely like the most scared was chapter 1. And it's so rare that I get scared that I wanted more of that. I wanted to be scared.
Just a quick note, that's another thing that I thought they did a really good job on in this movie is through the entire thing. I was always questioning, wait, is she involved somehow?
Mm-hmm.
Is like I'm never 100% certain that Justine is not involved. And you're right, that first section was so crucial to setting that tone of creepiness. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So we start with that chapter, but I think unlike you, where you feel like the last 20 minutes got absurd to an extreme degree out of nowhere, for me, I really felt like we gradually shifted there in what felt like an appropriate fashion, because Archer's story felt more like a mystery and not really scary to me. So I was like, okay, each chapter is kind of a different genre. Paul's section made me laugh. James's section made me laugh hysterically. Marcus's section starts introducing us to Gladys, and it's like this insane thing of figuring out who she is. So that felt very, I say the word absurd a lot when it comes to movies of this, where it's just like it's funnier on purpose than it is scary or gory, but that's just what these moments are. So I think like the extreme not reaction, but like how Marcus gets like possessed, and the results of that are so extreme that I'm not scared at all by it. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And so I'm really getting that WTF feeling. And then we get to Alex's section, and the reveal is again just so absurd at the end that I don't think there's a lot of laughing moments in Alex's part. It feels like we get back to, this is a horror movie or a thriller or mystery or whatever. It feels like it gets back to be a little bit more like Justine's part, but then it kind of diverges away from that, and it also diverges away from being Alex's chapter. I kind of wish there had been some way that they were like, this is Alex's story, this is his perspective, okay, now we're culminating them all together, because it does stop being in the style of all the other chapters where it is purely how Alex is experiencing things. We are seeing Justine and Arthur plotting to go into the house, and or Justine and Archer, and we're seeing them discover things in the house, and now we're seeing Archer get attacked by Gladys in the basement and ultimately possessed. Like, none of that is Alex's story. And I could have used like just something, I don't know what, like another title card, is that what I needed? But just the way that it transitions from being Alex's story to now we are everybody. And it's so hard to put it into words because this is such a strange movie to begin with. What I will say is that I'm real excited for this to get released on streaming services at some point, so I can go through and take the clips and put them in chronological order and just watch them, because I'm curious. I think that would be interesting. This thing is all over the place, and kind of like how Irreversible did a forward cut or whatever, kind of defeating the purpose of Irreversible. We don't have to get into it right now. I got into it previous Michelle in review, but similar to that, it gave me just a different perspective of the story, and I kind of just want to see that. I know it like completely removes all the unique stuff about this, but I just want to see the timeline. I think it's neat. Okay, I think it's neat.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, like, again, for me, like the level of the absurdity and the words are difficult. It's that it was so silly, right? Like, it was clearly done with the intention of you laughing. And if it wasn't, then they did something terribly wrong, because there are clear moments, again, for the last 15 to 20 minutes, the theater I was in was cackling, just rolling with laughter at various different things. So if that's not what they were trying to do, then something went horribly wrong. But I do believe that's what they were trying to do. And to me, it's like, again, like there's it just, the rest of the movie felt like it wasn't trying to be deliberately tongue-in-cheek and silly and over the top. It felt like a bait and switch. It felt like I was getting the kind of, because I agree with you, like that whole like what the fuck, like when he just starts bashing the shit, like that first time where the violence goes overboard, or even when we get to the part where the parents just start stabbing themselves in the face with the forks over and over, like it goes on just long enough that I'm like, okay, that's enough. I've had, but then when like they push it to that silly nth degree, then with the like everything just going on and on and on and on and on. So it wasn't even so much. It was the silly tone of it. I think is the biggest part. Because like I said, what happens there? Like also watching that, like I can easily imagine a scenario where all of a sudden all of those kids wake up and come charging out of the goddamn basement, and it's the scariest fucking thing you've ever seen in your life. Like I could easily see an experience like that where they could have done this and at least affected me a lot more severely. And I guess that's kind of what I was hoping for. I was waiting to see how these children, like, first also, like, how does the title resonate with the story itself? And I there are some things there and some potential symbolism here that I take issue with, but we can talk about those, I suppose, in a moment. Is there anything else? Jenna, what other stuff do you want to talk about with the movie?
So, I mean, I'll tell you about some of my favorite scenes that we can talk about.
Tell me.
So,
Tell
No,
me.
I don't want to hear them. No.
all right. Well, I'll just
Okay, bye everybody. This
I'll-
was an episode.
I'll just fuck off then.
Get the fuck out of here.
Who invited you anyways? So
Listen, you seem like a very nice person.
you would have hated me in this movie, JD, because I was one of those people that was cackling at the end. But so some of my favorite parts of this movie was during Justine's scene. I will agree, like it really set it up. Like throughout the whole movie until most of the end, I was like, I have no idea where this is going, or like what is actually happening here. Like there were parts at the beginning when I was like, during Justine's chapter, I'm like, okay, she had to have had something to do with this, right? And then like during Archer's part, and I'm like, when he finds out like that his son ran towards that radio station, there was part of me for a while that I was like, oh God, is this some sort of like government mind control thing? Like I was in that camp for a while, and that like it changed every chapter. I was like, okay, this is what's happening. And then I'm like, oh, I bet it's this. And I was wrong every single time. But anyways, so in Justine's, yeah, there's all these things that are just so tense. And that scene, like when she's following Alex, she's told leave him alone, and she keeps following this child and trying to interact with him made me so uncomfortable to begin with. But just for like that's such a weird thing to do. But then when she's like parked outside of his house at night, and she's drank all that booze in that big gulp, so now she's just totally passed out in her car and it's nighttime. And there's this reoccurring scene that happens several times where the door to Alex's house opens and it's just pitch black inside, and you never know like who's coming out of that door or who's opening that door. Like what is going on the other side of that door? Because it doesn't matter what time of day it is. Every time it opens, there's this like long pause and you don't like see anybody. But this time it opens. I think this is the first time we see it happen. And a woman comes out, which you later realize is Alex's mom. But the way that she's walking with like her arms up and like stomping, and she has what looks like a knife or something in her hand, and it's just so unnatural and like zombie puppet looking. I was like, oh God, what is this now? And the way that that scene is shot is so stressful because it's you like see her coming out and come towards the car, and then the camera, the angle of it is just like in the passenger seat towards Justine in the driver's seat, and she's passed out and just like leaning against the window. And this woman like stops outside of the driver's side window, and you see her just like her torso just like, kind of standing in the window. And then she keeps going, and then you hear like the car door open, and you realize she's getting into the car, and then she just like sits there for a little bit, and you're like, oh my God, what is she doing? She like brings the scissors up to Justine's face and then just cuts a chunk of her hair off. But that scene was like the way that it was shot was so stressful and so
Fucking A plus, yes.
yeah. And I was scared. I was like, I don't know what this is, but it's so unnerving. And yeah, there was that scene, and um like when the scene when Marcus Benedict Wong comes just like flying out of nowhere, and he looks just like an absolute crazy person. It's during the daytime, and he's just like locked in on Justine, and like his eyes are like bulging out of his head, and his face is all bloody, and it's because that happens just after he snaps and bashes his own face into his partner's face until it's just mush on the floor, which is disgusting. But and so it's not that like later during after that part too, Archer talks about how like it's like he was just locked on to Justine like a heat-seeking weapon. So I don't know, there were just like some other parts too. And then like Alex's chapter was very stressful because he's such a cute kid. And then this lady shows up, and he already doesn't want her to be there. Like he tells his dad, like the scenes with his dad are super cute. And then he just like sadly walks home the day that his dad doesn't show up to pick him up from school. And his parents are at the table, and they're just so out of it, and he's so scared. And Gladys makes them start stabbing their faces, and he's freaking out and trying to get them to stop. And just the way that she coldly tells him, like, I can make them do anything. I can make them eat each other if I want to. And I'm like trying to picture Alex as this child, this woman who is terrifying that you don't know is telling you, like, just made, your parents stab themselves in the face with forks, and is like, yeah, and I can make them eat each other, so you better be good. And then he's got to feed them soup, and it's like kind of depressing. And then he's got to feed all the kids soup, and it's just soup all day long for this kid. And he just,
Super
and,
challenging.
yeah, and every time they like show him, he looks like he's just getting like more and more run down. Like when they show him at school, and he's just like exhausted and sad. I don't know. Uh, I know a lot of people don't like that kind of humor, and it's a very fine line for me on it. And I cannot tell you where that line is for me specifically, because I'll see a movie sometimes, and if it's meant to be serious and there are humorous parts in it, I'm like, that took me out of the seriousness of it. I didn't like it. But usually for me, it's like one-liners or something where I'm like, nobody would ever say that right now. Like this is just purely for the, just purely for the scene. I'm like, this is so unrealistic. I hate it. But there are certain things that work for me. Like Jordan Peele has a lot of parts in his movies that have comedy interspersed into it that really work for me because it doesn't take me out of like how horrific things still are happening. Like, I'm not going to start talking about Jordan Peele movie right now. Never mind. But I was just going to compare it to something. One of my
Coming soon.
yeah. Uh, but I don't know. There were some parts that I liked. I did like the ending because it was so batshit crazy. Like the whole last like 10 to 15 minutes of the movie to me were just so chaotic and crazy. Like when Justine and Archer show up at Alex's house, And again, that door opens and Paul is in there and he's just like, "Ugh," like weird zombie arm, like, come on in. And they're like, we know that guy. Like, okay. And they go in and there's the salt lines on the floor. And Gladys tells Alex, like, don't cross the salt lines. Just doesn't tell him why or anything. And his parents are just standing outside of her door, just staring ahead. And kind of at the same time, Justine crosses that line downstairs and sets off Paul and James. And Alex crosses the line upstairs, and his parents are just like so locked in on just destroying him. And we saw,
Yeah.
what Marcus did to his partner earlier. And I don't know, maybe just thinking about like his parents doing that to him is like terrifying. And there was just so, like, it was just so chaotic. And then once Alex figures out that, like, when he's running from them and he grabs the thorn bush and her wig and pulls out one strand of her crazy real hair and like wraps it around that thing and breaks the stick. And then like and she like just knows that it's happened and she's just like, oh no. And yeah, was it stupid that she ran through like 10 houses and like and kept going through yards and homes, and like that part was maybe a bit much. I thought it was really funny. I think maybe it could have been cut down because like when those kids first come up the stairs and they're like busting out the windows, like they have no regard for how they're getting to her. They're just so like ravenous to
Terrifying.
get to her. And then yeah, then it starts going through all these things, and when they finally catch up to her and they like rip her limbs off, they like rip her jaw open, and I was just like, I don't know. It worked for me because it was still super chaotic. I still didn't really know what was going to happen, and then it kind of, it all kind of came to it. And then it just like abruptly ends after that. Actually, that's the part I didn't like. Don't ask me what I wanted to happen after that, but I don't know. I liked it.
Michelle, you just got this weird look on your face.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm also over here while I'm listening. Well, here's a glimpse behind the curtain. I have a hard time just sitting still and listening. So I'm currently also scrubbing my fake Freddie Muger temporary tattoo off while I listen because it's something I can do without distracting me, but then it apparently distracted you. I've got company tomorrow. I cannot show up with a temporary tattoo of Freddy Krueger as a tiger.
That
So I'm
sounds
just
like a
working on
job
that.
you should probably quit.
Well, I know they wouldn't care, but I would get a lot of questions. I just don't feel like dealing with it. But I do want to say, since you threw it to me anyway, while I scrub off this tiger tattoo that I love so much and I'm sad to see go, I would not have accepted Aunt Gladys as the explanation if I didn't first accept that this was becoming absurd and silly. I don't find her scary at all. I think that if it had been much more like the tone of Justine's segment at the beginning and we were still feeling terrified and doing that like long shot of the car, which scared the shit out of me too. If we were still doing that kind of thing and then this crazy woman showed up and she's a witch and that's the explanation for all of this, I don't think I would have been okay with that. I think I had to first accept that it was silly, or else that ending would have felt very just not justified in the way that it felt fine, where I was like, oh, of course, it's now a silly movie and we're doing silly things. And this lady, she's mighty silly. So that's the explanation.
Can I ask you
Yeah,
guys?
that doesn't work for me.
I have a question for you guys because I've seen this debated. So Gladys, so in Gladys's, we'll say, quote unquote, true form, she's an old lady that has like very stringy hair at first, and she kind of like, I don't know, as time goes on, and then after she gets the kids, okay, I don't think we've really explained this part. Is so she shows up at Alex's parents' house. His dad is telling Alex that, oh, you're gonna take care of mom's great aunt Gladys or whatever, baby something, aunt, great aunt, something like that. Um, and we don't know, she's really sick. We don't know how long she's gonna stay with us. Like, maybe a month tops. So like you get the idea that she's very ill. When she shows up, she is clearly very ill by her appearance. She can barely get across the driveway. Josh's dad is like help her. Um, she basically tries to like suck energy off of Alex's parents, and it's just not quite enough, and that's why they're in this like weird kind of catatonic state. So then she has Alex. She wants all these young kids in his class. She wants their energy. So she tells Alex that she needs his help to get something that belongs to each one of the kids. So when he goes to school, he grabs their name tag off of their basket in like their little cubby thing and brings those to her, and she rips them up and makes like a soup in the middle of the night, and then she does the whole kind of ritual thing. She's putting stuff in there, and I think she rings the bell, and that's kind of what puts people under the spell. And that's what lures all the kids out of their houses at 2:17. And she tells Alex like, oh, we're gonna, detectives are gonna show up, and they're gonna come here asking questions because you're the only one left. And when they show up, suddenly she's like, oh, detectives. She has all this energy, and she's wearing these crazy tracksuit or something. She's got this wild wig. Her makeup is insane. So I have seen it. People debate this. Is Gladys really just like aunt age? And she has come up with these spells and rituals recently to try and avoid actually being sick. Or is she like 200 years old because she tells Marcus earlier that Alex's parents have come down with a touch of consumption, which is a term used in like the 1800s. Like that's when that was a popular term to use. So is she like 200 years old? And you know, Alex's parents say that they don't really know her that well. So maybe she's not even like a family member. Maybe she's kind of weaseled her way in. Or is she some sort of extraterrestrial being? I don't know.
I absolutely left the movie with the thought that she's absolutely not related to them.
Okay.
That at some point along the line, she ran into Alex's mom and like weaseled her way into the family through Alex's mom. Now, I'll be honest with you, whether or not she's a new witch or an old witch or whatever, none of that ever even crossed my mind. I just accepted that she's some kind of witch thing, and she's using these kids to siphon energy off of to stay alive. Whether it's like she's just learning how to do these things, I don't know. She seems pretty capable. So the idea that she might just be new to this and just figuring all this stuff out seems a little bit like grasping at straws, but no, ultimately I didn't ask that question at all, so it's kind of a surprise to me that people have even been discussing it.
Well, yeah, I guess I do think it's interesting because it doesn't necessarily matter to the movie. It doesn't really change the outcome at all. I just like they just really don't go into any of like her backstory or her lore at all, which I'm fine with. I actually don't think she needs a lot of explanation in the movie. I kind of like the idea that she's just this super old woman that kind of scammed her way into the family and was like, yeah. Them.
As somebody who is known for wanting, I don't necessarily need all the details. I need enough details, right? I need enough of the right details. And for that character in this story, I got everything I needed. Right?
Yeah.
She's some sort of malevolent witch presence. She showed up here. She's siphoning life off these kids. She's fucking around with stuff in this family. For this story, I got enough of. So I never even considered I just never spent a lot more time being concerned about her backstory, I guess. What about you, Michelle?
Yes, I was waiting my turn patiently. I'm trying to get better at not interrupting. It doesn't go very well. I have caffeine in my system. I'm a massive interrupter. So I had never considered that Aunt Gladys is older than implied. That's an interesting thing. I don't think there's any world where this is a spell that she recently learned about, like because she was close to death. I think this is something she's been doing a long time. I did consider whether she is actually related to them, and I can't quite tell you why, but I am in the smaller group of people that this is a great aunt, who is very, like, maybe not great aunt, maybe like super distant relative, but I think she does have a connection, just because why else would, well, not because, like, why else would she choose this family? Because obviously she could choose anybody, but to me, there was a reason it would maybe work better if there was a blood relative, and that's who she had to, like, siphon the energy from. I also think she could have, like, fucked up their lives so much easier and not even been a little bit gentle with Alex or anything. Like, she could have just come in and take what she wanted and not have any sort of hospitality. And I feel like all of that was because there is a tiny bit of familial connection between them. I also do not feel super strongly about that. So people can be like, that's dumb as hell. No, she's clearly not related to them. Let me tell you why in XYZ. I just like a world where she is.
That's dumb as hell.
Fair.
I mean, I just wanted to say it because you said people could say it.
Yeah,
I appreciate you giving me permission. I don't actually think that, Michelle. I just wanted to say it.
Oh, okay. I definitely could not tell that you were joking and giving me a good old-fashioned ribbon.
Good zinger. Oh, it's a good zinger.
Good zinger. I also just realized I haven't eaten supper yet. And it's
Let me ask you guys something about this movie. What did you think about the giant fucking machine gun over the house in the dream sequence?
I still don't know what the fuck that is.
It's a giant gun over the house where the children are.
Like, I know it's to show that there's weapons in the house and the kids are the weapons and all of that. That was so out of place.
Well, and the reason I asked, Jenna, what did you think of the giant machine gun?
Yeah, at the time when I was seeing it, I was like, oh, that's crazy. And it's part of a dream sequence, so it's like, whatever.
Right.
I didn't really think about it too much. I thought maybe it would tie into something later, because at that time we still don't really know what's going on, like, at all. And it doesn't really tie into anything. I have read a bunch of things online about what it could potentially mean. I don't really feel strongly or convinced about any of the arguments. And Zach Kreger has also said, like, it's something that he chose to put in there, but he doesn't really want to explain specifically what it's for either, as far as I know, unless he has come out with something more recently that I haven't seen that definitively says what that is.
And the reason I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say there's, people there's a lot of, like, kind of more surface level things that it is. And then there's people that have gotten very, like, conspiracy theory with it. And they're like, well, 217 is this. And then the Declaration of Independence is, not that, but I was kind of linking it to a national treasure kind of thing. But, I've read some things where I'm like, all right, that's kind of grasping there. And yeah, so I don't know. I'm also not overly interested in what it means, to be honest, if that makes any sense.
I do appreciate I was actually really impressed that, like, there's a moment in the movie when she's doing the spell to get all the kids to leave home and come to where they are, because you're spending that whole time, right? Because they keep emphasizing 217. Why 217? And they keep emphasizing it because that's the kind of thing that you and I would get hung up on, right? Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing that the parents of these children would get hung up on. And as it turns out, it doesn't mean shit.
Right.
It just happens to be when she did it.
She was just up in the middle of the night making this thing.
2:17 a.m. just happens to be when she did. And I really liked that because it's such a brief thing, but again, it gives us enough of what we need to know, right? To not just leave a loose end hanging. And I like that it's like, no, sometimes things that seem like they're important are not. They're not important at all. That just happens to be when. So I like the way they tied that up. So I'm glad you mentioned like the significance of 217 and all that. And I find myself wondering if like the fact that there were 17 kids at 217 might have fed into it.
Yeah.
I mentioned the gun though because I've seen a lot of talk surrounding this movie suggesting that it's an allegory for school shooting.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, so you haven't done a lot of reading on this?
No, I've looked at a lot of discussions about weapons, and I haven't looked specifically into the guns, and nothing has gone into it.
Have you looked at like critical reviews and stuff, or just like other discussions? Like I guess
like read a bunch of reviews.
Okay.
I just happen to have not stumbled across that.
Okay, yeah, I've seen several. I'll try to find some links, but people talking about how like, this is. I even saw one where the review, and because this is how a lot of critics like to talk, because they like this is very clearly an allegory for school shooting, and I'm like, really? Is it very clearly?
Yeah.
Because if it is, it's a one-note allegory, and it doesn't actually play out through the entire story.
And that's
right. Because if this was an allegory for school shooting, the implication would be that Alex is the killer. He's not. First of all, it would also imply that the kids are dead. They're not. It also, like, nothing in the ultimate implication of the story plays in that direction. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I can't tell if this is something that people are just reading into it, or if maybe there's something there that was intended but didn't come through quite as well. I don't know. What do you guys think?
so I also agree with that too. I think that like I don't really think that it has any significance other than the fact that yeah, it's a machine gun. It's a weapon. It's very clearly a weapon to the viewer, and it says 217 on it like an alarm clock, and it's just kind of floating up there above the house. Um, I didn't actually really even think about it after the movie until I read some reviews and somebody gave it a really low score because they're like, this was so on the nose for gun control wokeism or something like that. And I'm like, what? Where did we watch the same movie? Because aside from that, I don't think there's any other like there's nothing in there that directly translated to me as the viewer of like, oh, this is clearly symbolic for this and this. And so I kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and I think biggest, one of the biggest like actual like gun control related things that I've read that I still am not convinced on at all is that a lot of people are saying that the symbolism of the 217 represents the 217 votes that passed the assault weapons ban in 2022 in the U.S. House of Representatives. But I feel like that is so grasping that I don't know if it's coincidental or not, but I feel like Zach Cregger seems like a smart and clever enough person where if this whole movie is supposed to be some sort of symbolism for gun control, that there would have been so many other moments in there that are a little more obvious instead of I don't know. I kind of think it's maybe just a little moment for him. Maybe it means something. I have read some other things too that kind of related this some of his processing of his grief for oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I cannot remember.
When Trevor Moore died?
Yes.
Yeah. Like there's like the whole 7 hot dogs thing that I read about where like that shot in the movie where there's 7 hot dogs is apparently a reference to something.
Yeah.
I don't know The Whitest Kids You Know. I'm not really familiar with it, but I know about it.
Right. Well, and that's what I'm saying is like I have read somewhere too that like maybe 217 has something I don't remember what it was. Like kind of relates more to that. Yeah, the seven hot dogs thing. Like they're little like Easter eggs that could maybe be kind of little like a little bit more related to Trevor than it is to like anything else because I've read some interviews with Zach Greger and he said that when he was writing this, a lot of it was him like kind of working through some of his grief, but he also didn't want grief to be like the theme of the movie necessarily because that's so overused in horror movies, like, oh, the horror was grief all along. And while there is some of that in here with like the parents like not dealing with the disappearances of their children well, it's not a prominent theme. Like everybody's kind of doing something different. They're kind of like working through this in a different way. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he put it in there as kind of like a thing to throw everybody off and like get everybody really talking about it, and it really doesn't like mean anything. I could kind of see that too.
Yeah, I get the feeling that
Jay, I hate to interject, but we can barely hear you. Did your mic change?
I don't think so. Let me
Oh.
check. It's still
You're
recording. That's
suddenly
fine.
very far away.
Oh, I
I'm sorry.
can hear him.
You can hear him fine?
Yeah.
Did it change at all for you?
No, I don't think so.
I had to switch
Oh.
out my headphones, but my recording is the same. I don't know why it sounds different for you, but
Okay. And Jenna says she can still hear you just fine. So I just wanted to
Oh.
point it out in case recording, but it's fine enough that I can hear you well enough to continue. I just wanted to make sure your mic didn't change or anything. So okay.
I don't believe it did. If it did, then we might be in for some weird audio. But what? No, yeah, I think the idea that it's more just like a personal reference to something that maybe he doesn't necessarily just doesn't want to talk about, far more likely than, because here's the thing, as a general rule, especially these days, people don't really, at least as far as I can tell, put a lot of effort into hiding what they're trying to say these days.
Right.
Right? Like, I feel like if this movie was supposed to be some sort of metaphor for gun violence in schools, it would have been way more obvious that it was a metaphor for gun violence in schools.
Yeah, I did not get that at all.
It was when I started seeing those things in different reviews, and then I saw, and I started thinking about the gun over the house, I did start to wonder if maybe that was just something that I hadn't picked up on that other people had seen. But seems like you guys didn't really grab a lot of that out of this.
Don't say you guys. I haven't responded yet.
Well, go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead.
I love that theory. And I want to watch this movie with that idea in mind because he's bullied by everybody in his class. He seems to be kind of ostracized by them. And now I'm thinking a lot about all these other little things that I hadn't thought about before. So I don't know if it's accurate, but holy shit, I want to go watch it again with that in mind. Also, I think that if we had movies where everything just came out and said everything all the time, I would hate that. So if there is just like a small coded kind of symbolism that's not apparent, like I prefer when movies do that. I feel like movies beat us over the head too much with stuff these days.
Well, I don't disagree. I'm just saying it's not a tendency of people to be that subtle.
Yep, and it is not a tendency for a guy to make movies like Barbarian and Weapons, and he might just be doing his own thing.
Oh, he's definitely doing his own thing. But here's my question, though. If this is some kind of allegory for school shooting, doesn't that make Alex the shooter?
Yep, fuck that kid. He sucks now. I thought he was so good. I thought that Kerry Christopher was like just a phenomenal child actor, and the way that he's so sad, his eyes are very expressive. I thought he was great. Suddenly, I hate that kid. If I see him on the street, I'm gonna punch him. I'm gonna be like, hey, what the fuck did you do? And he's gonna be like, I'm not even the real Alex. And I'll be like, I don't understand how movies work.
And then, like, I don't know. I just that to me is the whole thing. Is if it is some kind of allegory for that, I have trouble with what that then implies about various people in the movie and what the, like,
Right.
that's the case, I feel like they didn't push it all the way through. I feel like they were like, okay, we're going to do this and this and this, but then the movie is just going to stop being about that entirely at this point and
Yeah.
just be about the story of the movie. Like, if there is that allegory or metaphor happening, it feels to me like it just stops at some point, and the rest of the movie is not about that.
Yeah, I
But I
agree.
feel like you can take hints of something without the full movie being about it. Like, he could have been like, oh, this little bit is a hint at a school shooting, but it's not like the entire movie is a representation of that. You could just be inspired by school shootings, which was a really fucking weird way to put that. You should not be inspired by school shootings. There's a better way to phrase that sentence. But he could have just like been like, I'm gonna throw this little bit in here, but the whole thing isn't about it. It's just a bit, a little bit. This is the kind of argument you and I have gotten into a lot when it comes to Darren Aronofsky's work,
Ugh.
where I feel like you can have some symbolism, and he tends to have too much symbolism and is kind of extreme with it, but at the same time, like, I think there are parts where it's just a little hint of something, like Mother, and we don't have to get into it right now, but like a movie can be about multiple things and just have small bits here and there.
No, can't.
Okay, fair. I take it all back. I was wrong. I'm
Take
sorry.
it all back, Michelle. Take it all.
Take it.
I have
That got real weird.
I have also seen two, because actually what I started looking into this is because towards the end, which is kind of silly because so towards the end when Alex's parents are like full of the chaotic bloodlust and trying to murder him, and they're like busting their heads through the doors, and I was getting very like The Shining vibes, which is silly because like every time a person breaks through a door, you're supposed to think, like, oh, that's from The Shining. Sometimes people just break through doors. But I started looking into it a little
Sometimes
bit.
they just do that, Jenna.
Sometimes
That's just a
people
normal thing.
sometimes people just put their faces through doors. What do you do?
Yeah, I do it all the time, at least once a week.
But I unless I'm making this up in my head, I swear to God, I read somewhere that Zach Cregger was inspired by parts of The Shining. So I will also point out that 217 in the book is the room, the bad room in the book The Shining. So
Is it
I'm
different in the movie?
yes, it's like 232 something. It's different.
Oh yeah, I should know that. There's a whole documentary called Room 237 or
Or
whatever.
237. Yeah, and it's 217 in the book.
But yeah, it's definitely not 217 in the movie. Okay.
So
Cool. I didn't wonder why they changed the room, but that's a whole other thing.
there's a whole thing about it. I don't remember why, but
See, that to me,
everything is a whole thing.
to me makes so much more likely sense that he's just like, oh, I'm a big fan of that book, and I wanted to just toss in this reference, and I needed a random time for this to happen, so 217. We'll just go. That seems like a far more sensible explanation than it was about the number of votes that passed gun control legislation in 1992 or whatever. Like, the depth to which some people will dig for this stuff is fascinating.
Right. And that's what I mean. Like, yeah, I will rewatch this movie again anyways, knowing like how the movie ends and trying to pick up on like some other things in the movie. But even I've like thought about this movie so much, and I've like tried to find other symbolism in the movie, and I just really can't. Like, to me, it's more likely that it is just like 217 is maybe either just like a random number, or maybe just paying like a little bit of tribute to Stephen King, or maybe it means something. But I think like some of the interviews with Zach Cregger, and he's like, oh yeah, I don't know, like however you want to interpret that, like you can. So I kind of think he didn't realize that it was going to cause so much discussion too, and just feel like, "Ah, I kind of like that people are talking about it. You guys do whatever you want with that information."
I wonder if, like, I have a history of hating that response. So it's like, oh, it's up to debate, whatever, however you want to interpret it. I think, like what I was mentioning earlier, that idea, I think this was done intentionally to make you think there is some significance to that number.
Mm-hmm.
And again, creating that sort of mind space of where like the parents and stuff might be, because they get obsessed with every detail of the mystery, that sort of thing. Now, why was it specifically 217? Of course, like any of those reasons, but that perhaps a reference to the room in The Shining. But I do think it served I feel like, and maybe I'm giving the guy credit for something that he did not intend, but I feel like it was done intentionally so that they could then later reveal that, because if that's not why they did it, then why show us the clock, right? And I feel like that's kind of what that implies when they show us, the significance of 217 is just that that's when she cast the spell to bring them all in,
Mm-hmm.
is kind of like a step further than they needed to go if they just, like a lesser movie, I think, would have just never explained it or never done anything like that. And because they added that element, it makes me believe that there was deliberate significance to the use of the time to begin with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I completely disagree, but for no reason other than my heart tells me I
Yeah.
disagree.
So Michelle
Listen to
disagrees.
your heart.
Michelle disagrees on vibes.
Yeah. Based on the vibes, nah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I
All
rate
about those
movies,
vibes.
based on the vibes. The movie had a really good vibe until it didn't have a good vibe, and then it was like, oh
Yeah.
man.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
So I know we just talked at length about this, but I did just look it up, and it's the AI overview, so take that with a grain of salt. I don't have to, I'm not going to look into it fully, so we can cut this part out actually if you want to. But it says director Zach Kreger has confirmed that the time is a deliberate reference to The Shining. He also mentioned the number's personal significance due to the death of his friend at 2:17 a.m.
Is
Yeah,
that
so,
when
like-
Wise Casino Trevor
Yeah.
died?
Yeah,
Oh.
apparently.
You were talking about grieving him, but I didn't realize that was this happening.
Well, he said he was working through his grief with the loss of him while he was like writing the
Writing
script
the
for
movie.
this and working on it. So I guess that makes sense too. So maybe that's why he doesn't really want to talk about it as much and maybe he has opened it because I feel like when the movie first came out, he was like, yeah, whatever, because maybe it is more personal, to him, I guess, than anything else. But yeah, and I thought it was kind of interesting because it was like floating in the air and spinning, but it kind of felt more like a look at this, like pay attention to this. But it was like kind of to throw you off. Like it was kind of like throwing off Archer too, the character that saw it, because they're focusing on the wrong thing. Like he was focusing on that in the sky, where he was focusing on Justine, where she's not the person that he should be focusing on, because when he wakes up, he feels like kind of reinvigorated and like looking into this, and that's when he gets the map out and he starts thinking about the direction, and then he goes to Justin Long's house and waits and like figures out what direction that kid ran. And when he's drawing these lines and he's like starting to actually dig into this instead of just spending this last month so angry at Justine and thinking that she knows something that nobody else knows, when maybe he's been focusing on the wrong thing the whole time.
Yeah, I think
According to
that's
vibes, no.
what?
Well, I disagree.
Is that according to the vibes? No.
Those are my vibes. The vibes I'm picking up on.
I'm lost now.
Vibes.
According to the vibes, no. That's all.
Oh, now I'm really confused, and I don't know why. But
Okay. Fair.
Michelle started talking, and I was talking, and for some reason, the words on top of the words cast a spell on my brain, and I'm not even entirely certain what we were just talking about.
Vibes.
Perfect. Vibes. Yep.
Yeah, it's so it was a very hard experience for me. Because like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I like about it. I don't hate the end any more than it's just, the whole thing just felt sort of like, I thought I was about to get this real fucking, like, heavy, like, fucked up, like, what the fuck kind of horror ending. And instead, I got this goofy, like, we're all laughing and having fun kind of horror ending.
Would
And
you?
I'm fine with that kind of ending if it's the kind of ending I want. Right? And that's just not what I wanted from this movie. It's not the movie's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It just.
Well, it's Zach Cregger's fault.
Nobody's fault, Michelle, because nothing went wrong.
It was all wrong. Vibes off.
So let me ask you this. Would you have liked the ending more if like when the kids go to attack Gladys that she didn't run through all those houses like suddenly, that she just like made it outside and then got like ripped apart? Or what do you want the ending to be?
I want it to be less silly. I think there are those two things that stand out very significantly because to me they were very critical elements. When the corpse keeps coming back to life, or maybe not a corpse yet, but the zombie of the one guy keeps coming back and continuing to fight, I don't mind that a couple of times, but it just kept happening and happening and happening. Again, to the point where the entire theater around, because for the first couple of times, we were just like, Jesus, what the fuck is he going to have to do here? And I'm anticipating he's going to have to like crush this thing's head or some crazy horror thing. But then it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going to the point where everybody around me is now laughing at the ridiculousness of it. And the same thing with running through the houses. Like coming barreling out of the house and all of the kids just like slamming through the windows and everything after her, and then maybe tearing through like a garden fence or something. But like the repeated over and over and over smashing through the different rooms, it became very cartoony to me. And it like, there was a way you could have presented this same thing without it completely shifting the tone and the feeling in a way that took me out of the experience entirely.
It's really funny to hear you say that, because I know how Jenna feels about those scenes, because they're the same way that I feel about those scenes. And you're like annoyed that they're hilarious, and that's exactly why those scenes are so great. Like, I was laughing my ass off, and I felt like I was supposed to be laughing my ass off.
No, and I agree. That's why I'm saying it's not the movie's fault. I think it does exactly what it intended to do. What I'm saying is that I wasn't interested in that intention.
Yeah, and I was very interested.
My problem is not that it was funny. My problem is that it was ridiculously funny at the end of a movie that wasn't.
And see, that's another thing. I thought it was a very funny movie after Justine's part.
I think the movie has funny elements, but it was absolutely trying to be a serious horror film. I don't think the intention was horror comedy at all.
I think horror comedy. Truthfully, like, James's section is hilarious. Paul's section is pretty funny.
No, but Michelle, all I'm saying is that I didn't want a horror comedy ending to this.
Yep, I know. And I am saying that I think the movie was horror comedy after Justine's part. So I think that's where like I said, you and I have the same complaint where we want it to stay horror, mystery, thriller, whatever. But I just picked up on this is supposed to be funny much earlier than I think that you did.
I am going to agree with Michelle on this one because
hell yeah.
Yeah. Okay, no, stop dabbing. No, so I do feel like yeah, maybe it did feel like a little bit more like of an abrupt change towards the end, but there were definitely like it was getting kind of sillier and sillier in some parts, and I don't know if I would necessarily say it's like a straight up like horror comedy, because it's definitely horrific, but I guess like again for me it works. But I like a movie that just kind of suddenly just kind of goes off the rails in a fun way. So like that doesn't really bother me. Um, I don't know if I would have liked it differently if it didn't have these funny kind of elements to it or like some of these comedic touches. And I don't know. Like I said, that's just kind of the comedy that works for me. But I also really liked Whitest Kids You Know. And like just kind of the like the absurdity and just how wacky it was when they were like running through these different things. Like there's the guy mowing his lawn and he stops and he looks between the two houses and he sees Gladys like running and screaming for her life. And then all of a sudden like 17 screaming bloodlust children running behind her. Like it felt like almost like like sketch comedy at the end. And yeah, it is kind of a big tonal shift from some of the other things, but I don't know if they had that cut out of there, like if I would feel differently. Like if it ended the same way and didn't have that part at the end, like there was still so much chaos going on, and it's like I still didn't know how it was gonna like what the actual like climax was gonna be. But I was just in it. I was laughing. I was like excited to see like how that was gonna end, and but I can also totally understand it the other way because there's movies too where I like if this was in a different movie, I might not like it. Like I said, I can't tell you where that line is for me, and maybe I just liked it based on vibes. The vibes were good. I was having a good time. I was fully entertained this whole time, and I will say that I feel like whether or not you liked this movie or Barbarian, Zach Kreger overall as a director is doing some really fun movies. Like I had a fun time watching this movie. I was scared. I laughed. I had everything. I didn't cry, but maybe I don't know. And
I did a little at the end I was
yeah,
like,
because you were upset. Yeah, you were upset about the end. I get it. And yeah, it doesn't necessarily like, reinvent anything, but because there were kind of touches of different, horror tropes in there and kind of some different genres, but the way that it put it together and the way that it presented it, I just really enjoyed it. And, and also too, anytime that there's a horror movie that's doing really well, it's overall kind of a win for horror. And I don't know. I had a really good time. The vibes were good. Based on vibes, this is a good movie.
Oh, based
Going
on
forward, that is the
vibes,
only criteria.
no, based
How are the
on
vibes?
Well, that's always been the criteria, has it not, Michelle?
Was I
I
entertained?
don't know.
100%. Did I ever feel bored? No. I felt like the pacing stayed really well. I know that you think that there are some parts yeah, maybe there's some parts that could be cut out. There's actually one thing that's really been bothering me about the movie too, but
Ooh.
it doesn't change my rating. Like it's such a small kind of oversight. It's not like a major plot hole, but um I still really, really enjoy this movie and can't wait to watch it again. Do you want to hear the thing that's bothering me about the movie, or do you want to just like
Uh,
watch it
Yeah,
again? Or do
you
you,
can't bring it up and then not tell us.
well,
yeah.
Michelle, I
So
feel
if
like
you want to know, I'm not telling you.
the part that's been, you want to know? Too bad. I don't want to
Okay,
bring down the
that's fine.
vibes, but the
Oh yeah, fine.
vibes. Two things. One, this is such a small nitpicky thing, but who is narrating at the beginning? Who is that?
Yes, I know, right? I also want to know.
Oh,
Who
the
is it?
kids that came back.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's one of the, I think it's somebody else who is in the school because the way that she says at the end that some kids have also started talking this year feels like she would be too coherent if it took that long for her to start talking. So I think the movie you're supposed to feel like it might have been one of those kidnapped kids, but that final line of the movie is there to tell you that it's so bad. And this isn't even like one of the kids reporting on it. She's just telling you what she knows now.
Right. And does it matter? No. Does it still bother me? Yes. The second thing that bothers me is that, towards the beginning, when all the kids are running out And then when they make such a big deal about the Ring cameras, well, okay, well, I'm pretty sure all those kids running down the street at 2:17 a.m. and running right into Alex's house, would any of those houses that have a Ring camera not also pick up this herd of children running down the street? My Ring camera picks up like the parking lot across the street from me in the apartment complex. I know for a fact it would pick up a herd of children barreling down the street at 2:17 a.m.
So
Doesn't
this is one of those unique towns where only the parents of children who disappear have Ring cameras on their doors.
make sense. Got it.
Yeah.
That one
I mean,
I disagree with because my Ring is set so that I only want it if they're on my property. I don't give a shit about anything happening in the street at all.
okay,
And it doesn't pick
regardless
it up.
of
I
that,
check my
here's-
zone.
the more absurd thing, which I thought you were going to be coming to, is all of these parents have Ring camera footage of their children running away, but none of them have seen each other's footage. Josh Brolin has to go ask that guy if he has the footage and if he can see it.
That does
They don't all have footage.
No, but my point is more than one of them do. And if these are the parents that were involved, you would think that by now they have all shared their video footage with each other, is all I'm saying.
Or-
I'm saying every one of them is. Why is this the first time Josh Brolin has talked to the fucking what's his name from the Barbarian movie,
Justin Long.
Justin Long? Why is this the first time Josh Brolin has ever spoken to Justin Long, apparently ever, about their children both being missing, but also about the video footage they have of their kids running away? I don't buy that at all, that they've never spoken to each other, that he's never seen that video before.
Right. And it wouldn't seem
I
as
think it might have seemed like useless evidence to them because they're like, they don't see anything, and the parents clearly keep it or consider it very personal and don't want to share it, like the very last footage of their child.
I would agree with that, except for the fact that the way that, like, okay, you know how your child will walk or run, and it's not like Naruto. So if your kid runs away in the middle of the night and you're looking at this footage and they bolt out the door with that highly specific posture, and then like
In a beeline, by the way, not like out to the road and then down the road, just in a beeline
Just
in a specific direction.
straight out the door. You would think, because I'm sure the police have seen all this footage too at some point, so you'd think they'd be like, hey, we don't know what this means, but there's something weird about the direction and the way that these kids, and they also just like bolt out the door. They're not like sneaking out of the house quietly. They're like flying out the door with their arms in this weird like wing pattern and just like in a straight line. That's pretty fucking weird.
I also, as long as we're digging into nitpicks a little bit here, I find
That
the
was going to be my
suggestion-
thing too. Since we're doing nitpicks,
Mhm.
you
I
do
find the
yours.
suggestion preposterous that Alex, who clearly is dropped off and picked up at school every day by his father or at least one of his parents, and then all of his classmates go missing, and then all of a sudden all the windows at his house have been papered up with newspaper for apparently several months now, and people just stop seeing his parents anywhere. You're telling me nobody has looked into this further? Not a single person at any point whatsoever went down into that basement when like the cops and child protective
They
services
did.
and whatever were just there to look at things?
They did. She sends the kids out or whatever when the detectives are coming back. They're not at the house.
Okay, I may have just missed this detail.
So when
Yeah, fully investigate.
because when she knows that the detectives are going to come after the kids go missing, like they like clean the whole house, they take down all the newspapers off the windows, she does some sort of thing, all the kids go flying outside over the fence.
How fucking is this?
I don't know, but it's
What?
he missed
I
that.
don't remember this in the movie at all.
Totally in the movie. I also saw it.
That's
So,
not creepy.
Because when the detectives, because she tells Alex, like, tomorrow detectives will be coming. They will be coming here to talk to us. You cannot say anything. Like she coaches him on it. She makes him clean the whole house. He's pushing all the soup cans into garbage bags. They're taking down all
I
the
don't remember that at all.
because when the detectives show up and that's when she's wearing like her wig and makeup and her like full tracksuit and she's like, "Detectives, come on in." So
Did you
presumably,
happen to go to the bathroom, JD?
What?
Did you happen to go to the bathroom at this
No,
point
I
exactly?
think it's just been a week since I saw this movie, and I've spent so much time thinking about the things that I thought were dumb that I probably started manufacturing things in my head because my memory of the movie was incomplete.
that's fair.
Fair.
But yeah, so
So I
when
don't remember those details at all. I'm sure they're there.
so presumably when the detectives come and do like a search of the house, they don't find anything weird, so there's not really any reason to like go back or like stake out the house, I guess. I don't know. Um, yeah, everything seems normal-ish. And then she tells Marcus at one point because he does want Alex's parents to go to the school, and she says that Alex's father has suffered a stroke or something like that, and like, oh, he's in poor health right now. He can't really come. I'm kind of taking care of Alex right now, and blah blah blah. So there's like some sort of kind of explanation. I mean, it's loose, but we're also talking about a movie based on like witchcraft and spells here. So, uh, but when they do go to the house, presumably they search the whole house and don't find anything weird. So there's not really any reason to like look into that any further. But
So what was your
my
fix?
but
nitpick.
But however, I do think it's weird that nobody at the school noticed that Alex's dad came to pick him up every day, and now he's walking home from school every day and looking like he's exhausted and like falling apart day after day.
Yeah, I think maybe the ultimate message of this movie is that it fucking takes a village to raise a child, and this village fucking failed.
Well, maybe if we paid our teachers more and they had more resources.
I like it. That's it. This is a movie that's secretly about underfunding in education.
Yeah.
That's what the secret hidden message of this movie
See,
is.
I can get behind that one. That makes more sense actually.
I can get behind that a little bit more than I can get behind the gun control thing.
Yeah, because Justine, remember when Marcus is trying to put her on like administrative leave and she's like, oh, and he's like, well, you hugged a student once, and she's like, oh my God, I was trying to be a good teacher, and she's like, you gave a student a ride home once, and she's like, yeah, because they're waiting around and they missed the bus, and he's like, well, unfortunately it comes off as inappropriate. She's like, I just want to talk to Alex, and he's like, you can't, and she's like, I want to make sure he's okay, and I just want to like talk to him and like see what's going on, and then she does kind of stalk a child. But it's because she cares.
Kind of.
But it's because she cares so much, you know?
That's the reasoning most stalkers use. Is because they care.
I
Yeah.
think I saw something that said that this movie is also about how people are so unnerved by an unmarried, childless, middle-aged woman that she becomes suspicious for that reason. Because they're like, if she had been a married parent, it would be like, oh, she just has a motherly instinct. But because she's unmarried and has no kids, they're like, well, she's suspicious and we're a small town. And why? She clearly did something to the kids. If she doesn't have kids, because she loves murdering them too much.
Because there's nothing more that a childless middle-aged woman wants than 17 kids.
Exactly. As a
17,
childless woman,
like
I want
12-year-old.
17 children in my basement.
Yeah.
I would love 17 in my basement.
As a childless, unmarried, middle-aged woman, I will tell you the last thing I want is 17 kids right now, all at once.
Well,
My
as a childless, unmarried, however old woman, fortunately for you, no one ever would.
That is true. My opinion stopped mattering after I turned 25.
Your opinion matters.
Oh, your opinion
That's
matters
why
till
you're
25?
here.
That's nice. Yeah.
Anyway, Michelle, you have nitpicks.
Yes, it's just a very little one. So we make a big deal about the kids running straight in one direction. That is a huge part of this, is pinpointing, wow, that's Alex's house. And then once Aunt Gladys summons the kids, what do we see them turning a corner on the street because they're all following the road, and they turn a corner, and then we start seeing the kids coming from all these different directions. They did not run straight. They did not run straight from their homes. They did not all come from, when we see them, they all round a corner. Are you telling me all the kids live to the east? There's nobody coming from the back of the house?
Weird now that I'm the one who's going to clarify this for you, because if you recall in detail, he makes the map sort of with the lines crossing, and then he circles a general area, and at no point whatsoever do they say these lines all meet at Alex's house. They say it's somewhere it's somewhere in this area, and then Justine says Alex's house is in that area.
Yes.
And so I don't think they ever specifically say that the lines cross at Alex's house. So they don't specifically ever say that it was a straight line the whole time.
So tell me at what point Josh Brolin's son runs into the woods so that he can make a direct line there, and then he starts following the street and no longer continues running straight through people's yards and the woods. And every kid that arrives from the street. Nobody comes barreling out of the woods or coming from the back of the house. They all arrive following the street, turning the corner to get to their place. They do not make a straight line. If they
Michelle?
did, you would have kids coming from all different directions.
Okay. Maybe they did all come from different directions until they got to the street, is the point I'm making.
Yep, and I don't agree with that.
Okay, but so what I'm saying is you didn't see 100% of all 17 kids' trips, so you don't know what didn't happen.
And neither did you.
Right.
So my way is
by
what I'm gonna believe. Listen, we're nitpicking. You don't remember the police coming to the house to investigate. We can both forget things. But
No, we
mine,
can't.
I'm remembering,
I'm
I just disagree with it.
I am the only one who's allowed to have flaws here, Michelle. Where have you been?
Oh, typical white guy.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, sorry. White guy, perfectly unflawed. No issues. Guys,
what
it
else
is
do we
2
talk
hours and
about for
6 minutes.
weapons?
I cannot believe that we have talked
Yeah.
about weapons this long.
Have the long discussions when we talk about movies with Jenna.
Because we all got opinions and we got to share them. Plus, we tend to have Jenna on here when it's a movie that, like, we're really passionate
It's gonna
about
be- well,
in
it's gonna
some
be
way
worth
or
talking about
another.
for sure.
I will say, I feel like
Yeah.
we kept it relatively on track, though.
Yeah.
I'm so
proud of
proud
us.
of us.
So I do want to just say though, at the very end, like guys, clearly I'm very much in the minority here with my reaction to this movie just across the board, and I do want to be really clear. Like this movie didn't do anything wrong,
Mhm.
right? It's a movie that made some choices that I don't like onions on my cheeseburger, right? That doesn't mean people who put onions on their cheeseburgers are wrong. And if you're
Yeah,
going to add an onion on your cheeseburger, it was disgusting. I just don't care for onions on my cheeseburger. This movie put a few too much onions on its cheeseburger for me. So I didn't care for it. Obviously, it's got a lot of good things. There's a lot of fucking quality suspense in it.
Mm.
Like, I think that's part of why I was so let down at the end, ultimately, is I feel like there's some real good skill involved here. I'd just like to see what this guy is capable of doing if he just can get out of that whitest kids sketch comedy mindset.
Well, I believe he has finished the script now for the next like Resident Evil
I
reboot.
heard that.
Yeah.
So
Oh, look at Michelle. She doesn't seem too necessarily thrilled about that.
No, I'm just very tired. I'm excited
Okay.
about it.
Okay.
He says that it's not going to have any of the Resident Evil characters who we know and love, and that's going to do its own thing. And I'm apprehensive because video game movie adaptations have a good spot in my heart, but also a very big wariness in my heart, especially when it comes to the Resident Evil franchise.
That's well deserved. I mean,
Yeah.
even the video game movies that I know.
yeah, typically video game movies aren't always the best adaptations, and I am also a little disappointed by that because I feel like the Resident Evil movie franchise that we got already didn't have the characters that we knew and wanted and love. So, who knows?
I want the Zach Krager movie to be an entire escort mission.
Oh, no. You want it to be Resident Evil 4?
Yes,
I have the
that one
fortune
specific.
of having never played a Resident Evil game in my life,
Oh,
Ugh.
and so I have no emotional connection to anything from the games at all.
okay.
This movie can be whatever it wants to be for me.
Well, I'm very curious to see
That-
what he does with it.
That being said, I have been on that side of the coin where you are like fully entrenched in the lore and history of a franchise, and yeah, it definitely makes you very anxious about things. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I want it to be good. Video game adaptations are, I don't understand why. Here's a perfect example of it. Takashi Miike doing the Phoenix Wright game as a movie was a wild choice. And it's just like, that's the thing that happens with video games, is like, it doesn't always translate well to film.
ever
Yeah.
see Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo and Dennis Hopper in the 1988 cinematic masterpiece Super Mario Brothers?
Fucking love that movie for all the wrong reasons.
Oh, it's terrible.
That movie's
Oh my God.
Yeah.
so
So good.
so bad
in the
and
wrong
so wacky. But yeah, for many reasons, video game movie adaptations, like I feel like you're never gonna make everybody happy. And, like it's such a weird thing to do. Like I don't know. Maybe they should just stop doing them. But you know what? No more. Stop. Just don't do it
After
anymore.
the Death Stranding movie, I need the Death Stranding movie first. After
What if-
that, they can stop.
what if
Death
it's
Stranding,
bad?
I will kill myself.
Oh, well
That's
then I
what-
guess they will stop for you.
It's got to be good. Yeah.
If they won't stop making it, if they won't stop making adaptations for Michelle, Michelle will stop making Michelle for the adaptation.
Oh yeah, one way or the other, they're stopping. So
One way or the other, I'm never
separation.
seeing them.
yes, so Zach Krager for me, love Barbarian because it was wacky and very unexpected, and took some weird turns in there too that I was not expecting, and had a great time. I went into that movie completely blind though, I had no idea what it was about, and this movie liked it. So he's a 2 for 2 for me on major horror releases, so I'm excited to see what he continues to do.
Final thoughts, Michelle?
I liked it. My nitpick is valid. I don't care what nobody says. Everybody else's nitpicks, fucking dumb. But all my
Michelle.
nitpicks are real good. What?
I realize we've been at this for 2 hours and 12 minutes, but I just had a memory before we go. Tell everybody the good news that happened in your backyard recently.
Yeah. Oh my God, you guys, my woodpecker is back.
Woodrow the Woodpecker came back.
Okay, if anybody followed the saga, Woodrow the Woodpecker, I was very invested in him. He showed up every day. I would open my window, I would talk to him about how much I love him. And then last week, I'm gonna get teary-eyed. Last week I turned around and I just happened to look at the hole that he hasn't been at for 3 months. And he was there, and he's so much bigger. And I went, oh, like I made a sound in my Teams meeting, and then luckily nobody heard it. And I put myself on mute, and I waited until the meeting was done. And I tried calling my husband to be like, listen, it's not bad. It's not an emergency. I just need to tell somebody. But Woodrow's back. He just occasionally shows up, but he's just a big old boy. And I know better this time to not get so attached to a bird, because I know he could just leave at any point, and I'm going to do better.
Has he been bringing that bitch girlfriend around?
Yes. The thing is, John saw Heather the day before, and he came in and he was very gentle about it. He was like, hey, I have to tell you something. I don't want you to get your hopes up, but Heather was at the bird feeder. I'm like, what? He was like, well, it was definitely a female woodpecker. Maybe it wasn't Heather. Maybe Woodrow's not around. But I just wanted to let you know, I'm pretty sure that Heather was at the bird feeder. And then, like, a day or two later, I saw him while I was in a meeting, and I definitely cried.
Yeah, maybe
I love that little guy.
maybe we should all start being a little bit more grateful to Heather. Maybe Heather brought him back.
You
Maybe
know
that's
what,
what
Heather
happened.
and I.
Maybe Woodrow got lost, and Heather spent the last 3 months trying to find him and lead him back to you.
Oh, I can't wait for that Disney
She's really
movie.
gonna
It's
cry.
gonna have the
Holy
saddest
shit.
ending.
It's for
Yeah.
real good. Oh,
I love my little woodpecker friend.
no, that was
And
Happy
Heather,
Movie.
I'm okay with. She clearly treated him well. He is big. He is
He's a
so
big
much
boy.
bigger. He doesn't fit in his hole anymore, so that's why he's been working on it.
That's what she said.
Ah,
Say
okay.
good night, Michelle.
Okay. Well, good night, Michelle.